You can also see the red and green lights on Dragon, just similar to starboard and port on a ship. We have that for nights like this where it's a little bit harder to see the orientation of the vehicle, so those red and green lights help us understand which side of the vehicle and orientation that we are approaching. And it does look like they are pulling a main chute out of the water there. Again, those detach immediately as soon as the spacecraft splashes down. This helps prevent the wind from dragging the spacecraft after it's splashed down and helps keep the crew safe. But we do recover those main parachutes, keep them out of the water.
Exactly. And as we just discussed, each of these fast boats has a very specific role that they play. That is all part of, again, the ground operations that support the retrieval and recovery of the spacecraft, as well as the X-4 crew. We're now looking at some additional views that we're getting in of the fast boats making their contact with the Dragon spacecraft.
And we should be seeing a crew member actually climb on board the spacecraft,
Yep.
do some final safety checks, and then help begin setting up the rigging for the spacecraft to be lifted out of the water.
That's right. It's all part of a coordination, a choreography of events, right? Getting from spacecraft is in the water. What are the next few steps that have to occur before we can get Dragon onto the recovery vessel Shannon? And this is a very key moment in that.
Yeah, and right now you can see them doing the sniffs, making sure that there's no hazardous gas or chemicals around the vehicle and that it's safe for the team to actually approach and climb onto the spacecraft. And as always, the recovery crew is wearing the PPE necessary to perform these operations. PPE is personal protective equipment.
And it's a good reminder that even in this phase of the mission, we're excited crew is home, but the job's not done yet. We're taking this time to make sure that we're operating smoothly, that we're operating safely, so that we ensure a safe return for the crew on board the vessel and back home to their families and teams.
Yeah, we call conclusion of the mission when the crew egresses the spacecraft, and egress means to exit the spacecraft. Got some calm waters there, which is great.
Yes, exactly what we're looking
for. Southern California, Southern Pacific Ocean, as we splash down off the coast of San Diego today.
Dragon, SpaceX, hypergol sweeps, and unfired ordnance checks are nominal. Rigging is in progress. Approximately 5 minutes until capsule lift. We have SpaceX flight surgeon standing by. Please confirm crew are ready for post-splashdown PMC.
Dragon, copy go, and we are ready for post-PMC.
Copy that, Dragon. The next call you hear will be from flight surgeon on Dragon
operations.
It's a very different view that they're having outside that window than they had for their flight up and their flight home.
Yes.
But all the same, I'm sure that they're also glad to say, hey, we're home. If you're just joining us from home, you are seeing live views of the Dragon spacecraft that has returned home from the Axiom 4 mission. After launching on June 25th, the Axiom 4 mission...
Dragon, SpaceX, Dragon to ground is now unprivatized. Com check.
We have you loud and clear on Dragon ground.
Copy, Dragon. We have you the same.
You can now see on the screen SpaceX support personnel beginning the rigging procedures to ensure that the Dragon spacecraft is rigged.
SpaceX, be advised, we're going to step into transitioning the forward link. Comm will be unavailable for approximately 5 minutes. Rigging continues nominally.
Dragon copies. 5 minutes. LOS.
Again, the Corps just keeping the crew updated with the operations that they're performing. They won't have comms for about 5 minutes, but rigging is continuing, as we can see there, with the recovery crew member standing on top of the spacecraft.
Yeah, working very important procedures for the next phase of the AX-4 mission. And for those of you who've been following along since June 25th, when the Falcon 9 lifted off from Kennedy 39A, this was a pristine new Dragon. That crew had the privilege and the pleasure of naming Grace. And now that it's gone through its first mission and landed back safely in the Pacific Ocean, you can see exactly what the spacecraft goes through on its return home, but very much a sign of a successful mission.
Yeah, I love the tradition that the first crew that flies in the spacecraft get to name the spacecraft. And Peggy Whitson had some great words on why they named the spacecraft Grace,
Yeah.
Which I think is amazing. And we've got a great fleet of Dragon spacecraft. And speaking of Commander Peggy Whitson, she's actually our third frequent flyer.
Yeah.
Our first frequent flyer was Michael Lopez Alegria from Axiom Space.
Yep.
Second being Jared Isaacman when he flew on the Polaris Dawn mission. And now Peggy Whitson flying for a second time on a Dragon spacecraft. At SpaceX, we're trying to make these vehicles reusable, just like aircraft when you fly and fly over again multiple times a day. And we're getting closer and closer to that with the same crew members
Exactly.
flying again,
Exactly.
which is awesome.
And it's important to note, right, that kind of mission-to-mission lineage, right, allows crew members like Peggy Whitson, like Michael Lopez Alegria, to better help inform the next crews that are coming with them, right? The more familiarity that you get with the vehicle, the better equipped you are on your mission. And I, as a personal Peggy super fan, I cannot imagine a more fitting astronaut to be able to give a name to a new vehicle. I love the messaging behind why they chose to name it Grace. And to your point, Jesse, about the frequent flyers, I loved that during launch we could see I don't know if it's a new tradition potentially, but we got to see some boarding passes that SpaceX provided
Yes.
to the AX-4 crew, and because of her frequent flyer status, Peggy Whitson got a gold boarding pass, and I absolutely adore that she was able to have that distinction.
Yes, just add it to her resume.
Yeah, you can add it to the resume. SpaceX frequent flyer.
Yeah, I love the boarding passes. Again, always trying to make it as common as aircraft, planes that we fly on every single day.
Exactly.
And we're still just in the beginning, but I feel like we've made a lot of progress in the last 5 years, and we still have a lot of new things, new missions, and improvements that we want to make to, future space.
It is.
So it's a good amount of time. I believe this is the longest duration for an Axiom space mission so far.
That's right. We heard a lot of those kind of sentiments shared between the AX-4 crew and the Expedition 73 crew currently on the International Space Station during their farewell ceremony, during their undocking last night. It really kind of underscored the aspect of once you're up there, once that hatch is open, it's all one team. It is, like we keep saying, it's a team sport, but once they were in there integrating with the Expedition 73 crew, that AX-4 crew was learning so much more. And it was highlighted in everything that they were able to execute, right? We mentioned earlier over 60 research projects, over 20 STEM engagements, outreach events. Over 18 days, that's an incredible amount of time packed into their timeline, just coupled with sleeping, sleeping and being there. And also, but also like the aspects that they're not timeline, but engaging with the crew, sharing cultural touch points, understanding each other, getting to learn each other. And they did have the benefit of getting to meet this Expedition 73 crew before their flight. So by the time they were opening that hatch, they kind of knew each other. And I think it's an incredible aspect of this mission for sure.
That's so awesome.
Yeah.
I wonder what their comms were. I'll meet you in space.
Exactly right. I wish I had the ability to say that. That'd be so cool.
One day when we're all able to fly in space.
All right, sounds good. I'll see you in space then.
See you in Spacecraft. Looks like we're getting closer. They are pulling the spacecraft towards the recovery vessel. Looks like we're rigged up, and you can see the hydraulic lift moving forward and down. And then it will begin to lift the spacecraft out of the water and again into that dragon nest that you see there on the recovery vessel. I think one of my favorite parts is the recovery crew that's on the spacecraft gets to jump into the ocean
That's right.
when
That's
they're
right.
done.
Yeah.
And it's nighttime in the Pacific, so it might be a little cold,
We'll be a little chilly.
but definitely a unique part of the job.
Exactly right. And you can see all the support crew. There was just a fast boat on the screen that made its way off screen there, but you can see the number of support crew that's kind of going into supporting an operation like this. You know, it may look like it's not happening very fast, but there are a lot of steps that each of these crew members are responsible for ensuring